Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Teacher Talks. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes. I'm so excited that you are here. Remember, if you are on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, or on LinkedIn, you have the opportunity to like and make sure that you share this channel. We are going to have a wonderful conversation tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of information, but also, as usual, we're going to have some good laughs because that's what I'm here to do. So I will be back in 60 seconds. Remember, 60 seconds, and we will get this party started. But in the meantime, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll be right back. Now, I know you all heard that. I know you heard it. I pulled out the keyboard for y'all. And I gave y'all my own little opening music. I know it's going to get better, but I need to give y'all something because I got tired of shouting out all these people using their tracks and using their music in my intro video. So I had to do my own little thing. So don't shoot me. Don't dog me. Don't drag me. I just started, okay? It's going to get better. I'm going to put a little song with it too. But just, that's something that I came up with just for you all. So really, you should be thanking me. I need somebody give me a hand clap and a thank you in the comments because I need y'all to appreciate what I'm trying to do for y'all here because I go out of my way to do that. So while you're doing that, we have some people already in the comments telling me good evening. Good evening to you, D. Good evening to you, Dr. Chandrina Griffin Stewart. She says she's so excited to hear from Dr. Coons tonight. Awesome educator with a God-filled heart. Oh, we already gonna start with Jesus tonight, y'all. We already gonna start with the Lord. So I'm excited that you're excited. We've got some more comments. We got Mr. Coons on here. Brother Sammy. Sammy says, hello, good evening to you, Sammy. I definitely want to hear from you in these comments. Who else? I'm on Facebook as well. So if you drop the comments in Facebook, as always, I will give you a shout out and make sure we take notice of what you say and post it so others can see. Hello to you, Miss Holmes Jackson. Miss Dr. Griffin Stewart says, way to go. She's excited. She's ready. So guys, so besides my little intro music that I have given to you all, thank you for the shout out. Thank you for the keyboard. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for thanking me. Like I said, it's going to get better, but I needed something to kind of get the show going without using somebody else's stuff. So that is original music, y'all. Am I a musician? No. I am not a musician, but I tried. Well, actually, that's already programmed on the keyboard. Now, I did do some of the elevation and some of the syncope beats. I did that myself. Now, I won't tell that lie, okay? So, but still, thank you for thanking me. We've got Brother Sherelle on here. He says, hello, Dr. Holmes. Hello to you, Brother Sherelle. I look forward to you jumping in this conversation. So we're not going to hold you long. I'm not going to prolong because I would definitely want to get to the conversation. So as always, it is 9 o'clock. Actually, it's 9:09 here on the East Coast. So what do I always say? As usual, since it's 9 o'clock, I need you to put your cups up, and I hope that your children are down, okay? Because we got to have a conversation tonight, right? We don't want them as part of the conversation. So let's dive right in. Let's dive right in. Now, if you see, I wore my sailor red for you today and my horizontal black and white stripes. This is my play on my mother's outfits for church. So when she gets in here, I'm sure she's gonna say she likes what I have on because she definitely wears something like this to church. Okay, I'm just saying. So tonight's topic: tools to increase school improvement and student achievement. When I came up with this topic, I could not think of anyone better to have on tonight's show than the one and the only Dr. Tanya Coons. Let me tell you. Hold on to your wigs, pin it down, tape it down, do whatever you got to do. She's going to blow your wig off tonight, y'all. She's going to share some information with you. She's going to give you some tools for you to use. If you're an educator, if you are in leadership, if you're a parent, if you're just somebody that supports education as usual, this is the platform that I use to educate the people, to grant access and information, to help you help yourself and help your children. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're talking about tools for school improvement and student achievement. Now, is that not a prevalent topic to talk about right now during this time, during the pandemic, virtual learning, blended learning, face-to-face? There's a lot going on. And so we need to think about, for those schools who are already struggling, what are they going to do next? What's their next steps? And how can we be an advocate for them in the space, in whatever space we serve, to really support their needs and support their goals? So without any further ado, please help me welcome my guest, Dr. Tanya Lofton Coons, because we don't want to leave out that Lofton now. There she I had her muted, y'all. We don't want to leave out that Lofton because that Lofton has a strong point right there. So we got to give some respect to that. Shout out to Sammy.
Yes, got to include that. Thank you so much, Dr. Holmes, for inviting me to be here. You know I'm delighted at any moment to talk about school improvement and student achievement. Thank you so much for being here.
Listen, I know that is your heart. And so I wanted to make sure I gave you the space to have this conversation and to share with everybody that's viewing and listening, because this is a very needed topic right now. Sometimes it's difficult. This is not something that people like to talk about, but it's something that we have to talk about because data shows these numbers aren't changing. These schools are here. They're not going away. And so we've got to be real about what we're dealing with and how we're going to address it. We've got people still shouting out Dr. Drummer. I call her Dr. Drummer. She's on her way to Dr. Drummer. So shout out to you. She said, Sammy! We've got 12. I don't know who this is, but 12 says Dr. Coons. That means she's excited. We got Dr. Drummer back. She says Dr. Coons is the what? The GOAT. I love it. Shonda Gilbert says, good evening, all. Hi, Dr. Coons. Hello to you, Mr. Gilbert. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. So, guys, get out of the comments. Let's talk. Y'all in the comments. I can't even get the conversation started. Look at you. Y'all are just, look at everybody's in there. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, Dr. Coons, let's get started. Just kind of give them a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump right into the conversation.
All right. First of all, thank you everyone for joining us. I appreciate that. Let me tell you a little bit about me. So currently I am the owner of Impact Educator LLC, co-owner, by the way. My daughter and I own that company. But by trade, I am a school improvement grant coordinator for the Bibb County School District, also known as SIG. I love what I do. Prior to becoming the school improvement grant coordinator, I was the director of gifted and ESOL. So I have experience in gifted education. Most of my experience is in gifted education, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Prior to that, I taught fourth grade. I taught third grade at both Sonny Carter Elementary School as well as Riley Edison. If you know anything about Edison, I started my journey where you could be creative. As a matter of fact, as a second-year teacher, they flew me out to Texas to present this unique mathematical idea at a conference. So it's where you could be creative and you could love the love of learning. And student achievement was always the goal. Not only that, I've taught at Wesleyan in a master's level program. I also was an Ed TPA scorer for Pearson. In addition, I have not only experience in Georgia, but also in the state of North Carolina. So anybody from Charlotte Meck, shout out to you.
Now, if for all of my policy people out there, my ed historians, the name Charlotte Mecklenburg should ring some bells if you are in the policy world. There's a lot of history and education policy in Charlotte Mecklenburg. So I'm not going to dive into that tonight, but I could and I want to, but I'm not. So let's just start here, y'all. From what you just heard, from the little bit she just shared with you, you hear the experience and the expertise that you're going to get tonight. We're not talking about a novice, people. We're talking about somebody that has done and is doing the work. Now, let's take note. You heard years of experience, right? Let's take a look at this. Black don't crack, y'all. Black don't crack. Look at that. This woman does not age, and she has been in the game for a long time. She's been a lot of places. And then this is the outcome. I need the potion. Give me some of that potion. I need it. Well, listen, let's go deep. If you got a question, remember, if you're in the chat, if you got a question, if you got a comment, put it in the comment section, put it in the chat. I will definitely get it on here. We will talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about, because you do drive the conversation for Teacher Talks, because it's really for you. I create this platform for you. So I want you to get in here and have your input and your say. So the first thing I want to talk about, when we think about schools that are underperforming, and we're going to go ahead and dive right in, y'all. What typically, in your experience, causes schools to be underperforming? I know that's a massive question, right? So if you could limit it to three things, what three things do you think are the biggest contributors to school or student underachievement?
So I think I'm going to do something a little bit better, Dr. Holmes. I'm going to give you one word: limitation. And under limitation, I'm going to talk about the limitations of students to themselves, teachers to themselves, and administrators to themselves.
Stop right there. Because is the wig pinned down? Okay, is it pinned? Okay, the one word she said, correct me, you said limitations.
Yes, sir.
Get your church notes out, y'all. She's going to give you 3 points under limitation. Dr. Coons, hit it.
Yes, sir. So when I look at students, overall, we're talking about student achievement. Student achievement is what drives everything. It drives the decisions that we make in our country as to whether or not school is passing or failing. It makes decisions about whether or not businesses are going to relocate in our communities. And there's so many other factors that are dependent on student achievement. What tends to happen is that our students walk into the building with these limitations on them, what I call lids and labels. So some have been told you're poor. Some have been told you'll never amount to anything. Some have been told, oh, you're really brilliant. Some have been told you'll never make it, or perhaps you're a struggling child, or you're special needs, lids and labels. And when we put those limitations on students, what tends to happen is that they rise to that occasion. I don't know if you're familiar with the training of a flea for a flea circus. You place that flea in a jar, and in 3 days, the flea keeps hitting its head on the lid. And guess what happens? It says, I can't jump out of this jar. When you remove the lid from the jar, the flea can still jump out, but it doesn't believe that it can jump out. A lot of times we call that mindset. I call it limitations. And so for students, we've got to help them lift the lids and labels off of their lives in order for them to understand that you can do anything. You truly can do anything that you put your heart and mind to. Let's move to the teachers. So when students walk in, they've read the research, they looked on the news, they saw the families. And so we typically say, I don't know if Johnny can do it. I looked in his Cume folder and I don't know whether or not he's capable of doing X. But what the teacher may not have known is that the previous teachers didn't give Johnny an opportunity to draw like he needed to draw. So one of the things I learned in gifted education, by the way, I used to teach 3 of the 4 gifted endorsement classes, and I would get the adults to just take like a plus sign. And I said, I want you to use this stimulus to draw anything that you like to draw. Ladies and gentlemen, inevitably, every time, even the adults would say, so what do I need to draw? And I would repeat, draw anything you'd like to draw. I want you to know most of the times individuals would draw something that was related to education. Surely there's more to you than being just an educator. In my own personal life, I'm also a musician. I'm a business owner. There's so much more to you than just education alone. That's what happens with our teachers. We limit ourselves. I want you to stop and pause right now. Think about who you really are. Beyond education, beyond your title, who are you really? What else do you bring to the table? What interests do you bring to the table? Now let's move to the administrators. So we're leading and we're change agents, but we're trying to change something that's a lid and a label. But we're trying to apply, well, you know, we have CCRPI scores here in Georgia and whatever else you have in your respective states. We have these evaluations. We try to apply that on top of a lid and label, and we never drill down to say, listen, students, I need you to remove every lid, to remove every label, and I want you to bring everything that you are into this classroom, and I want you to perform. I want you to learn, and I want you to produce. Learn and produce. Teachers, I want you to bring everything that you are in this classroom. I want you to learn from your students because, as my daughter would always say, you're students of your students. I want you to learn and I want you to produce. Administrators, when I come in, all I'm asking is that I want you to sit at the table with me so I can learn what it is that where you're trying to go. I also do vision coaching. And so where are you trying to go? What's your vision? Now let's generate the steps that we need to take in order to get you to your vision. I don't want to come in with my vision. What is it that you see for your school? And in places where maybe they don't see a clear vision for their school, I can help with that. Okay? Because we're going to drill it all the way back down to our students.
Are you taking notes, people? Are you taking? I helped you out, okay? So let's just go back to when one of my dreads fell out in the back when you start talking. So I lost a dread, my first dread, when you said that students come with lids and labels. Lids and labels. Some are internal, some are external, but they bring all that to the classroom and they will only do what the lid has allowed them to do or what they believe they can do. Lids and labels.
Yes.
Teacher limitations is that their limited thought of who they are and what they actually bring to the table in their entirety, in their wholeness, in their fullness. You're more than just a teacher. You're a teacher with experiences, with dreams, with aspirations, with hobbies, with families, with goals and beliefs. But you don't bring in any of that to the table when you teach. You're just bringing the teacher side of you. And you're leaving the other, I'll venture to say 90% of who you really are
Yes.
outside the door. And your students need that 90% more than you really think. They need all of you. And you wonder why they say you don't care about me. Because the teacher comes across like not caring. But the mother in you that you left outside the door would have really cared. She would have showed compassion and some grace. And then you brought in those leaders. You said the leaders have limitations that exist in their inability to remove the lids and labels, but also in their inability to have a clear vision. Where are you trying to go? And then what are the steps that you're going to take to get there? But if you don't have a vision, I can't help you take a step. The first thing about babies walking is that babies don't stand up. They don't walk first. They have to stand. And then after you stand firmly, you have a firm foundation, then we begin to take what they call baby steps. Not running, but baby steps. We have leaders who are afraid to stand up. And we've got to first stand. I mean, the comments, these people, they're just in here. So I've been selfish with myself, somebody says. Gilbert says, learn and produce. And she went on to say, preach. Preach. Then one of your babies says, speak, mama. Then your love bug says, this is good stuff. Now, let's look at what this says. Drummer says, I've observed Dr. Coons doing my gifted endorsement. I still have not seen too many people outside of her daughter and son-in-law that can even look in her direction professionally. And she says that respectfully to everybody else who's out there watching. And Dr. Griffin Stewart says, all right now, limitations. Lids and labels, Gilbert says, that's good right there. That's good stuff. And it really, really is. We've got another comment here from Dr. Griffin Stewart. And this is on Facebook. So I want to make sure I get this in here so that we can all see it and read it together before we go on to the next question. She says, powerful. Encourage teachers and students to bring everything they are in the classroom. And I think that's beautiful. I think in the wake of where we are in this country, I feel like students had to bring a certain aspect of themselves in order to be appropriate for school, right? There was a look, there was a sound, there was a dress of a student. But I don't think that student always respected culture, race, or gender. And oftentimes did not respect socioeconomic status as a culture itself. And so we wanted our Black kids sometimes to come in and operate and sound like your middle class white child or upper class white student. That's not their experience. And so they're struggling trying to be somebody who they really are. And then we're struggling to teach this imposter sitting in our room because we can't make connections with them.
Yes.
So let's move on. So differentiate to our viewers the difference between growth and achievement, proficiency, and mastery. Because that is a conversation that schools who are going through improvement really struggle with. And I want you to tell us why and then tell us the difference. I'm going to let you do all the talking.
All right. So I like to use an analogy. I want to use weight loss. That's something that's common. All right. So let's talk about the fact that if I am 160 pounds and I need to lose 30 pounds, if I achieve 140 pounds, yes, I've made growth. I've achieved something, but am I proficient? The answer has to be no. Have I mastered it? The answer has to be no. And let me tell you why I haven't mastered it, because I may have lost weight, but you have to ask the question, have I mastered eating habits, changing my eating habits? Have I mastered exercise, the things that are going to help me sustain the weight that I've lost? Let's bring that over, reframe it into education. Oftentimes, we'll put kids on a platform. We'll give them some direct instruction that's guided. They do really, 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 really well. And we'll say they mastered it, or they're proficient. But in reality, they had support. Now, support is good. I believe in support. We need monitoring and support. However, if the child does not meet whatever the standard is with proficiency, the child has not mastered. So I remember working in Edison schools, and we had standards-based report cards. And so a child could make a 90, let's say a fourth grader, but the fourth grader was really performing on a third grade level. We had to notate this is a third grade level, but the child has mastered that particular level. In some programs, you'll hear it referred to as adaptive practice. So you adapt to where you are in an effort to move you to where you need to go, which is your target. So think about the target being mastery. Wherever it is your goal, it is you're expected to master. If you have not gotten there, the answer to mastery, unfortunately, is no. Okay? But the key is to make progress. We need to encourage our kids. In order for you to master something, you've got to take those baby steps that Dr. Holmes was just talking about. All right? In your school, leaders, teachers, in your classrooms, encourage your students to make progress. And you know what happens? They play video games all the time. They get on the game and they want to beat their score. Don't we do the same thing? So encourage our kids, encourage our teachers, beat your score the next time. Beat your score. Taking the lids and limitations off.
So there you have it, guys. And I don't want you all to be discouraged, for those of you that are in the realm of school improvement or school turnaround. You know, growth is to be applauded.
Yes.
But you have not reached that level of mastery where you can, first of all, remove the label. You've got to maintain and sustain what you've taken and then continue to grow from there. It's not about, and everybody who's in this game understands this, you can remove the label and reach a certain level of achievement, and the next year the qualifications go up. So if you continue to maintain at that level, you're going to be right back in the same boat the next year. So you have to continue to grow. You can't get lax and comfortable, because it's not going to work for you. And I know you don't want the label. So she's absolutely right. But growth is good. It's to be applauded. The work is being done, but keep pushing. That's what she's saying. Keep pushing. Just like a parent. Kids do really well when they're with you, but it's your kid's character really shows when you let them go out by themselves. Have you really given them the tools they needed to let them go out and not, as my mom would say, show out and show your behind, right? Mm-hmm. So we've got to kind of keep that same analogy as we're dealing with our own children, our students. So if we're talking about school improvement, where should these schools place their focus?
So the main thing is, so Charlotte Meck was leading in that whole personalized learning thing. When you just think about humans, period, the medical field, I always use the example of the medical field. I don't want to go to the doctor, and I've had this happen, and the doctor gives me medication just because I'm African American, I'm Black, and I have hypertension. You give me the same medication you gave the person, but the client before me and the person before me, just because I'm Black. Let's reframe that into education. It's nothing new. It's nothing, differentiation, personalized learning, it's nothing new.
Yeah.
Look at the child's data. It's really this simple. Look at each individual child's data. What does that data tell you about that child? Whether it's social emotional support that's needed, academic support that's needed, and if it's those two, then how am I going to provide the best support for that individual child? What you'll notice when you start looking at the individuals, then you can begin to group. I think what happens in school improvement, sometimes we'll group the kids by yellow and red and green without drilling down. And then we start to drill down to the kid. I like to encourage, let's look at the student first, then look at the color and see whether or not we can group. Because what I've learned, even with advanced students, they can do really well and still not know anything.
Yeah, most definitely.
They haven't mastered the material, but they can do really, really well on a test. The goal is to get them to master.
Yeah.
Every kid.
And you and I we've had this conversation before related to the same topic. But I want you to share what are some of the barriers that stop schools or stop leaders from focusing on individual students? I mean, I've been in environments where we did it because we did just what you said. We had kids' names up on the board, and we partnered every kid with somebody that they can talk to with social emotional, some things with academic, focus on graduation. But some places aren't ready to do that. So what's stopping them from doing it?
So let's just put this elephant on the table. Fear. Fear that somebody is going. I remember when I first started. So I had, and this is not, I'm not going to say Georgia or North Carolina, because in both settings, it was very interesting. Sometimes people think, okay, are they going to come down on me because my kids haven't mastered, or my kids are regressing, or the pass-fail rate doesn't match the unit assessment score, or the Georgia milestone score, or the whatever your state's test is, right? So there is a mismatch. And so they're going to drill down and find out that, oh my God, did they cover all the curriculum? Notice I said cover. The goal is to help kids master. Fear will cause us to go into this box and only become teacherly, if you will, and leaderly, if you will. So if we remove the fear, so when I serve a school, I immediately go in and see what that leader wants to have happen. Okay? Remove the fear, because this is your dream and your goal, your vision for the school, right? Remove the fear. When we come in and I talk about monitoring and support, I don't just come in and say, well, you know what? Your kids were on, let me give you an example. In North Carolina, we use the MAP assessment. Your MAP data is ridiculous. This kid has been failing for 3 years, so to speak. What's going on in your school? They keep regressing. No, I have them look at the data and say, okay, what is it that we can do for high leverage, that we can do for your student in order to move this student forward? Once I can get the leader or the teacher to talk through just one, guess what happens? The light bulb goes off about the many.
Yeah.
Okay? Because they are going to realize automatically what I'm trying to do for this student may not work. That blood pressure medicine again may not work for this other person. It may kill another child. It may kill the motivation, okay, of another child if I try to apply that same thing. So I know fear sounds generic, but it is genetic. And it is. It's fear. Here's another thing. The good old pacing guide. We'll tell teachers we're personalizing learning, but then we'll give them a pacing guide and say, if you're not here by this date and this time, then guess what? They're going to be penalized.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once again, fear is induced. It's fear.
Oh my God. And so when I heard you say fear, this is what I heard you say. Push your purpose over your fear.
Yes.
Push your purpose over your fear. And a lot of times, if we're going to continue to put those elephants out there, let's go and put them out there. Sometimes that fear comes from what you're getting from the top.
Yes.
Because you're looking at numbers and they're looking at numbers and they're expecting you to do a certain thing by a certain date. And so you're so worried about the look, the image, and the expectation that you're pushing your purpose to the side, because you know why you are in and called to do this work, but you're letting other people dictate what you do. And it has nothing to do about students sometimes. Nothing at all. So listen, leaders out there, even teachers, push your purpose over your fear. It should rest on top of fear. That means fear has no power over purpose. It just can't if you're going to do this work. So, Dr. Coons, we got people still talking. Dickens says, yes, tell it, doctor. Dr. Drummer, she says, just put the elephant out there. If we're going to put it out there. She just says, put the elephant out there. And we're going to get to this comment a little bit later, but I do want to share something that Miss Colbert says. So recently she says, wow. Drummer came back with a whole bunch of elephants this time. But Valeria says this, and we're going to deal with this topic. She says parents carry lids and labels as well. And so we're definitely going to touch on that because I think that's an important conversation that we have to have. But let's go a little bit deeper about you. And so as we talk about all this, and there seem to be many challenges, where do you see yourself residing? Not where the money resides. Where do you see yourself residing in this work of school improvement, school turnaround, really, and student achievement? Where do you rest as somebody who supports it?
And it goes right back to support. So Matthew McBee talks about high demand and high support. In school improvement, it's not just about the demand. We know that the demand is there. And as you stated, if a school doesn't improve within that 1 year window, sometimes 3 year window, depending on what the grant says, then they are looked upon and relabeled again, right?
Yeah.
It's not about the demand, though. So as an individual, as a human, when I walk in, I know what the state is looking for. I do everything in my power to help that leader understand what the state is looking for, but we're not after just that because that's limiting. That's a label, right?
Yeah.
We're after providing support for students, support for teachers, support for leaders, and as someone clearly stated, support for parents so that we can get the growth and development and mastery that we're looking for. Otherwise, what tends to happen is we dangle that carrot, they jump real high and they perform. And as soon as the money is gone, y'all, the growth goes away.
Yeah.
I just refuse, let me say it on camera. I just refuse to put my name next to anything that's where when the carrot is gone, then the results are gone. I want when I walk away that they could run it without me. Before I walk away, I want them to be able to run it and run it well.
So let me. Oh Lord, I've got to practice in the comments because when you said it, this is what I heard. Because I am relevant, I am current. So what you said is this: results don't rest where the money resides.
That's exactly right, Dr. Holmes. I will say this: good instruction can go on without the money.
Most definitely. I agree.
A good instructor can take a sheet of paper and create a science lesson, a math lesson, an ELA lesson, a CTAE lesson, any kind of lesson you demand, STEM lesson, without the money.
Yeah, I agree. Dr. Griffin Stewart, I mean, I think we may need to call the paramedics over there on her to see, make sure she's all right. She says, wow, personalized learning is in conflict with the pacing guide. Never thought of it this way. I am in deep thought as a leader. And then she comes back and says, I got to get this. She says, awesome. This girl is on fire. Alicia Keys don't sue me, but this girl is on fire. She is on fire. And so I have a lot of leaders on here, triplets on here. I hope that you all are getting a lot of great information. But remember, with or without the money, your results don't rest where the money resides. So let's talk about that. Let's dive a little bit deeper in a different direction. Talk about how can you increase student achievement if you don't have a culture that's conducive for the work that needs to be done.
Ooh. So let's talk about, I'm going to speak to that money and then dive right into that culture part.
Okay.
I will say this, when you have money, you move a little differently. Okay. So anytime you have a little money, you move differently. Unfortunately, we reward failure. So you get the money as a based on the fact that the students failed.
Oh my God, we just had this conversation with mentoring last week, that you can't get mentoring programs to exist until the students are already at risk. Big fail, but continue. I apologize.
No problem. Great conversation. So when you get the money, don't let the money drive you. You drive that money.
Yeah.
Utilize it to the fullest so that when the money is gone, you can sustain success for your students. They'll have every piece of technology they need, every resource they need. The consultant has come in and done what they need to do. They'll have the knowledge that they need. Utilize that money and utilize it well. Let's talk about culture. I'm going to say exactly what I said just yesterday in a meeting. We were talking about, the surveys that are going to come out and all of this. And the question was raised, what can we do to improve the culture in a school or district or whatever? Just show respect. Here's another elephant. I've watched at multiple places, not just in Georgia, but North Carolina, people sit at the table, and I'm going to give you an example, and you all know what I'm talking about. So if one person speaks, then people are like, then we'll come back the following week and say, oh, we got to trust. The speed of trust. Why should I trust you when this is what?
Yeah.
Body language speaks. Nonverbals speak. So then we'll say, oh, let's have this team building activity. Guess what happens? In that activity, it becomes just that. Just like students, we think we're fooling people when we do that. And people are going like, okay, when this is over, she's still going to be mad with her. He's still going to be mad with her, that person. This student is going to be upset about this. And here's another thing. Students carry messages.
Yeah.
Hello. Students carry messages. So what students will do, if they notice that I don't like Dr. Holmes, which I do, if I don't like him, I go to his class and I'm going to say, by the way, I don't like you anyway. So they make Dr. Holmes go, what? I thought we were okay. Right?
Yeah.
Because in the hallway, I'm going, hey, how you doing? But the students are carrying the bones. I don't think we realize that we're living in the real world, even in a school or in a district. It's important to be respectful. If we really want to change the culture, we don't have to read all about the speed of trust. And don't get me wrong, I read the stuff. I love all that. Just be respectful. So when someone is talking, then give them your undivided attention, exactly what we do with students. When someone gives an idea, even if you don't like it, just take it, because you may need that idea later for a student that you're going to serve. I always tell them, think about the students that you serve. There will be a student in your lifetime. I've been in education 22 years that you're like, oh my Lord, I'll be glad when this year is over, right?
Yeah.
Or an educator or a leader. But if you learn to respect the idea, then we can get past all the other things, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say it just like this. We've got to stop acting like high schoolers in education. We've got to stop.
I don't have a mic to drop, but I want to drop it. Listen. Okay. Let me calm down. So let's go back to the comments. Drummer says, make the money. Don't let the money make you professionally.
Yeah.
Gilbert says, now you are talking. Money will not solve it all. However, sustainability is a must. Colbert comes back. She just couldn't say anything but, my God. And Griffin Stewart had to come back again, and she says, you both are, oh no, this is somebody new. Griffin Stewart says, tell the truth, Dr. C. Then we got a compliment. Dickens says, you both are busy. Great. Many of us parents and grandparents need this leadership. So let me go back to what you said as we talked about culture. Culture is dictated by verbal and nonverbal communication. You simply said, be respectful. Because remember, dogs aren't the only one that carry a bone.
That's right.
Dogs aren't the only one that carry a bone. And remember, for you leaders, when you sit in those meetings, your body language says a whole lot about who you respect. About who you respect. So those district office administrators, principals, when you sit in the meetings and when certain teachers talk, you kind of get that grunt on your face because you don't like them, or you don't respect them, or you don't value them. It's obvious. People are watching.
That's right.
And that's driving how they behave based on your response. That drives your culture. I'm telling you, people, I see it. Dr. Coons just told you it is there. And it's obvious. Somehow you think it's not, but it is. So we've got to be very cognizant. So come on. So we talked about teachers. We know that teachers are the key to this thing, right? If the principal is driving the ship, then you've got those teachers that have those single oars that are rowing on the side, left and right, making sure we're going in the right direction. But the problem is we may not have the right teachers on the right boat. We may have some boats that are a little bit heavier, so we need somebody that can carry a little bit more weight. We may have a boat that may not have a great navigation system, so we may need teachers who can really dictate direction. We may have boats that are new boats, and so they may not have the experience. So we need teachers that come with a lot of knowledge and tools in their tool belt to drive school improvement. But what we see is that sometimes these teachers aren't in places where there is underperformance. So the question is this: how do we attract and maintain high quality teachers in underperforming environments?
So I'm going to flip that question and say, why do people leave underperforming environments? And most often, if you look back at the surveys, it's because of the culture.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean by the pettiness, the high school mindset. I'm not going to be your friend because you're not friends with this person. All of that has to go in education.
Yeah.
If we're going to recruit and retain the right people, we've got to be cognizant of the fact that we're dealing with people's emotions. And a lot of times we don't know what another person may be going through. So they may have this look on their face, or they're not talking like they used to, or whatever. And it may have nothing to do with you as an individual. It may be what's going on in their homes. We tend to understand that when it comes to children, but when it comes to adults, we just, ignore that whole factor.
Yeah.
I'm not saying make excuses, but what I am saying is be respectful. It's respect that's going to draw people to your school and performance, because nobody wants to join a losing team. Nobody. Raise your hand.
Nobody.
So nobody's signing up for that.
Yeah.
So when people come to your school, they want to be there. We have to treat them like they want to be there. Don't demean them. Here's another thing. A really good friend of mine said to me when I was over gifted education. I had placed her at this particular school. And she said, Tanya, I didn't grow up in poverty. Yes, I'm Black, but I didn't grow up in poverty. But I'm being treated like I'm impoverished. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, sometimes we can't get our better teachers in some settings because when they enter, unfortunately, we treat them like they're impoverished. Now, here's the problem I have. We shouldn't be treating children like that.
Yeah.
Should not. So we need to treat them as we see them. And if we see them as impoverished, that's how we're going to treat them. But if we see them as successful, we're going to treat them that way. And therefore, we'll treat our staff that way. And therefore, we'll treat our leaders that way. And guess what? We're all going to be successful. And I know this sounds idealistic, but it's realistic.
So let me just say, what you just said was powerful, because what has to happen is that I'm saying we, in education have to change our lens. And so this whole conversation about diversity and inclusion is a very powerful conversation, because when we really understand that, we don't see students as impoverished, we see students that we are called to teach. Despite where they come from, what they look like, or what experiences they bring to the table, they're still students that can meet state expectations as it relates to standards. And I don't think oftentimes, because how many times do principals do interviews and when they come in, they say, well, I want to be honest with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
About the environment. We are this. Our students normally perform this way. Our teacher population is like this. And so if I'm coming in trying to do good work, is this a team I want to join? I don't want to join this team. And what happens is, when you get good people coming in to do good work, they're oftentimes ostracized.
That's right.
Because people say, well, why are you doing all that? Why are you going the extra mile? I mean, why are you giving these students all these chances? They can't do it. They won't do it. They don't care. Their parents don't care. Once again, lids and labels. And we've got to remove those things. We've got to remove them. Because if we don't change the lids and labels, y'all, Dr. Coons just told you, we can't make a difference. Let's go to the comments. Dr. Gilbert says there is a need to respect adults and children, period, point blank. Coons says, speak, Dr. Mama. I love it. Nickens says, so thankful that you two greats and other high-powered minds are teaching to not linger over yesterday's fatalities. Oh, that's powerful. Yeah. Thanks again for pushing forward. Griffin Stewart says, my, these high schoolers that we're working with. High schooler mindset. Barnhill just says yes. She couldn't say nothing else but just yes. Many of us, yeah, they need the leadership, guys. I mean, this is powerful. And once again, as always, these topics are so rich that we could talk about these for days and days and days. But what I want to do on this platform is to just give you guys some information and access to really help you rethink what you're doing in whatever role you play: parent, teacher, student, administrator, or somebody who, as a grandparent, or there's somebody in the community that's really trying to get invested in education in your community to make sure kids are getting what they need. But that is what we're here to do on Teacher Talk. So remember, if you are on any of the platforms that you can like, share, comment, and subscribe, I want you to stop what you're doing. Right? Stop what you're doing and subscribe right now, because I am on sometimes, not on Thursday, but I just kind of not doing stuff. I just kind of get online sometimes. But these topics happen, these conversations happen every Thursday at 9 o'clock, and I definitely want you to be a part of the conversation. So let's dive a little bit deeper. If you're just now tuning in, let me bring you up to speed on what we're talking about. Tonight's conversation, we're talking about tools to increase school improvement and student achievement. And my guest tonight is none other than Dr. Tanya Lofton, Mama Coons. So let's keep going. How hard is it for a school with consistent low underperformance to make those gains that's needed? We're just being realistic. I'm a low performing school. I've been low performing for a long time, whether I'm an old school principal, I've been there for a long time, or I'm a new principal. But this school has a history of just underperformance. How hard is it, just being real, to make the gains needed to remove the labels?
So typically, if we look at the data, it takes about 3 to 5 years to truly turn a school around. That's typical. Of course, there are some that take longer. There are some that take less time. I've seen a school get on what we call a TSI list, a targeted list, and get off in 3 months. And they focused on growth. So anytime you have schools that focus on growth, you're going to grow students, you're going to grow teachers, you're going to grow as a leader. And guess what's going to happen to your school? If you consistently do that, you're going to come off whatever list it is. Okay. Yeah. That's the key. So yes, you have that target and that goal in front of you and all of that, but you understand that there are so many other factors impacting your students that you're not going to use as an excuse, but you're going to use as a way to leverage what needs to be leveraged. Because if I know that a student is homeless or whatever the situation is, then I can better leverage that information by allowing the kids, putting them in contact with the appropriate district level individuals to get them what it is they need so they can perform academically. Does that make sense? So keeping all of that in mind, typically is 3 to 5 years. But let me just say this. I'm the person that looks at a school that's, quote, high performing, and I look for growth still. So if I have identified gifted students or unidentified smart students who are not growing, to me, although you're not on a list, you're on a list.
Yeah.
Because the children are going to end up on a list in college.
Yep. Most definitely. And you went right into the next question. And so I think that those schools that are high performing don't get comfortable.
That's right.
Because people like me and Dr. Coons, we come in and we're still looking for growth. And just because you may be the highest performing school in your district, you have other schools outgrowthing you. So you've got to figure out what you're going to do to make those gains. Yeah. So the game does not change no matter where you are, low performing, high performing, mediocre performing. Everybody should be trying to move in an upward direction. Mm-hmm. And I know Dr. Coons will give me an amen on that.
Amen to that.
That is the word.
Yes.
So let's kind of go back to Mrs. Colbert. Where do parents exist in this school improvement game?
I love that question. We cannot leave parents out.
Most definitely not.
Parents who are on drugs, the parents who are successful, the parents who are demotivated, unmotivated, disengaged. Let me tell you what I learned. I taught in a suburban school as well as an inner city school. What I noticed in the suburban school is that not everybody came to parent meetings. We make it seem like everybody come to the parent meeting. There were parents I never saw. Their kids were doing well, but I never saw the parents. Let me raise my hand and be honest. I'm an educator. There were times that I couldn't get off and go to my own children's events and PTA meetings, so on and so forth. So let's not judge our parents by whether or not they show up physically, but whether or not they show up emotionally.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I mean by that. So as a parent, when my child is in my home, I have the power to say, you ain't nothing. Using language. You ain't gonna be nothing. Or I have the power to say, boy, you get on my nerves sometimes, but you're gonna be something one day. That's the kind of stuff I used to hear in my neighborhood.
Right.
Or you're gonna graduate. I didn't graduate, but you're gonna graduate if you're 51 years old. That's the kind of language we need our kids to hear. So when we're talking to the parents, the first thing I would always say when I taught in the inner city school, I don't want you to beat your child down. What I want you to do is tell this child, little Johnny, you can do anything. I made every kid, any kid I've ever taught, learn, believe in yourself, set your standards high. You deserve the best. Try for what you want and never settle for less. Believe in yourself no matter what you choose. Keep a winning attitude. You'll never lose. Think about your destination. Don't worry if you stray, because the most important thing is what you learn along the way. Take all that you've become to be all that you can be. Soar above the clouds and let your dreams set you free. Why do I share that? Because if I can get a kid to believe that he or she can do anything, and if I can get that parent to believe it, think about it. That's why they go to the games. We say, oh, they'll go to the games, but they won't come to a PTO meeting. Y'all, come on, let's be honest. You don't want to sit there either and listen to them read the minutes. Parents don't have time for that. So let's encourage them to jump in and tell their kid, you better run that ball. You better run that literacy ball. You better run it. Encourage them to encourage their children. Because if kids come in emotionally charged and encouraged, guess what? You can work miracles with those children.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. Yes, that I'm like some other people. Yes, my God, I don't know what to say, but yes. Um, I mean, Gilbert says powerful. Focus on growth. And leaders, let me say this to you. Focus on realistic, strategic growth.
Yes.
You got to be realistic, but you have to be strategic. And I've been places, y'all. I've had some goals that didn't seem to be realistic,
Mm-hmm.
but I realized what I was working with, and I knew that the adults were not giving me their best at all. So saying a 60% proficiency rate was unacceptable for me when you're operating at a 20% of your capacity.
Mm.
So if you have teachers that are under teaching, under instructing, they're only at 20, 30%. You don't want to lowball student achievement rates because when they finally operate at 80 to 90, you're going to go from 40 to 70 or 80
Mm-hmm.
in a year's time
Mm-hmm.
because they're finally being held accountable to do what they can do. Barnhill says, don't get comfortable. Growth is still necessary. And that's for my high performers.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
still necessary. And then, Dr. Miss Holmes Jackson, I'm going to have to monitor this. She says, you're going to get your together in here. She says, you're going to get yourself together if you come up in here.
That's right.
So, Dr. Coons just told you, parents, if you're not quite sure what you can do, if nothing else, be encouraging. Be encouraging. Don't just drop your kids off and say, have a good day. Tell them how to have a good day.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to your teachers. Make sure you complete all your assignments. Don't misbehave. Give your best work. Give your best work in every class, every teacher, every day, because it makes a difference. You don't have to know the content. You don't know how. You don't have to know the standards. You don't have to know pedagogy. You don't have to know the instructional frameworks. But what you do need to know is your child,
Yes.
because you know them better than anybody else. And the encouragement that you will give them may not be what a teacher or a principal will give them because we didn't birth them. We don't live with them every day. We don't know what motivates them, what gets them going, but you do. So use the tools that you have, and you have way more than you think you have, parents.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
can get the ball rolling because you make the difference. You make the difference, parents. So we do not want to discredit you, but on this show, we want to honor you.
Yes.
We want to honor you. So Dr. Coons, listen, we're wrapping up. I mean, we're 10:05. I'm going to wrap it up with this last question. What is one piece of advice you would give to those undergoing school improvement? And you can speak to anybody in that group. You can talk to teachers, you can talk to students, you can talk to leaders, you can talk to parents, you can talk to whoever you want to talk to. What is one piece of advice? And that advice could be all inclusive, but one thing you want to share with them before we wrap up tonight.
So I want to speak to this. I'm going to talk to leaders, which means that's everybody who's listening under the sound of my voice, whether you're a parent, grandparent, administrator, teacher, or student. You're a leader. We're all in control of our own lives. What I want you to do is to strategically look at the gifts that are in the room. Now, I don't mean to go Bible, but I wholeheartedly believe this. Our human body is made up of so many systems, and they all have to operate together. They cannot operate in isolation. Our communities are made up of so many systems that cannot operate in isolation. Look in your building and determine who can do what. I don't care that they're only a first-year teacher. And yes, people are going to talk. But if they're a first-year teacher, they're on fire, and they know how to design a lesson for a student, put them in charge of something to do it, to make some things happen, because it's all about, yes, monitoring, but support and progress, learning and producing, learning and producing. Also, your veteran teachers, they'll be able to come in and do whatever needs to be done, because guess what? The younger teachers don't have the wisdom that the veteran teachers have. It'll be a natural fit, and it won't be this synthetic fit to try to make things work. Let me put the veteran teacher over the department because they have more years. Look, if the second year teacher knows what to do and how to help kids learn and produce, let them run. Utilize the gifts that are in your building. Allow those gifts to operate. Parents in your home, utilize the special gifts that are in your family. Allow them to operate in your home. Teachers, utilize the gifts of students and allow them to operate. I'll tell this one story, and this can be verified. You can contact a principal, notify me, and I'll tell you where you can go. I was absent one day from school. I taught third grade at a school. I was absent from school. My sub did not show up, and my students ran my class. The principal nor assistant principal knew that the students were in the classroom by themselves without a sub until they got to lunch. And the principal said, "Where's your teacher?" They said, "She's not here." Students did all of the work, verifiable. Why? Because they ran that classroom. Allow your teachers, your students, trust them enough to run for success. That's what they're there for.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, I don't even know what to say. This has been such a great conversation. Remember, if you are just tuning in, you are late, but you can always go back and watch this on YouTube or Facebook. But we're talking about tools to increase school improvement and student achievement. My special guest tonight is Dr. Tanya Coons, who works currently as a school improvement grant specialist or coordinator, director here in the state of Georgia, in the middle Georgia area. She has dropped literally, not mics, bombs. She has dropped some bombs tonight on everybody, parents, students, teachers, stakeholders, leaders, central office. I mean, everybody was able to receive something from this tonight. Hello to you, my beautiful mother. You chimed in late. I don't know where you've been. We'll talk later because you should have been here a long time ago. But okay. You said that everybody is a leader because you're in control of your life. I don't care who you are, parents, teachers, students, principals, district office leaders, state leaders. Everybody is a leader because you are in control of you.
Yes.
That's powerful because the title may be different, but you're still a leader.
Yes.
Nobody let me say this. Now, I say this all the time. Nobody has power over you but you. Because at the end of the day, you still have a choice that you can make.
That's right.
You may suffer the consequences, but you have the power of choice because you're a leader. She just told you you're a leader. So I'm going to leave with that particular note right there. I am assuming, based on tonight's conversation, because we're still getting people in the comments, that you will be back, Dr. Coons.
Thank you.
I'm going to have you back because there's so many things to talk about in this area, and so many people are going through it. And I can promise you this, as we're moving forward after COVID, there's not a lot of data, but we don't know what's going to cause people to have or to be on an identified list at this point, right? And so we're going to have to continue to talk about what that looks like. Just school improvement without even having a label. You just want to move forward.
Yes.
You don't need a label to go through school improvement or school turnaround. Turn it around. You're not satisfied with where your students are. You're not satisfied with how your teachers are performing. Turn it around. Why? You're a leader. You can do it. And so thank you again for tonight. This has been a great, great conversation. I hope that everybody that's watching tonight, that you shared this link on YouTube, share it on Facebook. If you're on Periscope or LinkedIn, share this. Share this. This is a great conversation. We have talked about multiple things tonight, some things in depth, but some things not. That's why she's going to come back and we're going to continue the conversation. Again, you are watching Teacher Talks. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes. I'm just thrilled. I'm thrilled about tonight, and I'm thrilled about having you, Dr. Coons, join me this evening, and all of your expertise, and let me say, your godly wisdom. It has
Thanks for
definitely
inviting me.
been noticed. Her information, I've shared her LinkedIn information in the description on YouTube as well as on Facebook. You can contact her through there. Also, you can reach out to her company, Impact Educators, through there as well. If you want to inquire about services, I fully encourage you to do so. You won't leave the same way. Let me just say that. So again, thank you. With that, I am saying thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being in the comments. Thank you for your questions. And we really appreciate you here at Teacher Talks. Once again, we're here every Thursday night at 9 o'clock, and we're here for you. As I always say, be safe and be blessed. And let me add this, at all times, always be better, because it's your better that will lead you to your best. And with that, I say good night.
Good
Thank you again, Dr. Coons.